Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the BitCan SG Meetup, organized by BitCan and co-organized by Huobi and BitTemple. Our partners for this event is Bitmain, FBG Capital, BTC.com. I'm Eric from BitCan Singapore. The theme of this meetup is to discuss about the future of crypto community and exchange. Next, I will share the introduction in Chinese. 大家下午好。欢迎来到BitCan新加坡聚会，感谢我们的协办方火币和 BitTemple， 以及我们这次聚会的合作伙伴比特大陆、FBG and BTC.com。我是 Eric， 来自BitCan。今天的聚会主题是从交易到社区，探索数字行业未来发展。Today, we are honored to have guest speakers sharing with us on meetup topics. We have Sandy Leong, Operation Directors from BitCan, Ethan Ng, Marketing and Events Lead from Huobi Global, Jason Zhuang, Director of BTC.com, and Wilson, Asia BD Head of FBG Capital. 今天我们很荣幸邀请到了专业人士为我们分享。我们有 Sandy Leong 来自 BitCan， Ethan 来自火币 ，Jason 来自 BTC.com， 以及 Wilson 来自 FBG Capital。We also have some of our BitCan families here. Sandy from BitCan. And Brian, our Global HR Director. Alex, our Legal Director. Chen Zhi, Finance Manager. And myself from Product Team, Eric. The topics we are going to share today. The first topic is redefining value of crypto industry. Will be shared by Sandy. The second topic is on Huobi, strategy, program and globalization, shared by Ethan. The third topic is on exploring blockchain with BTC.com, shared by Jason. Lastly, crypto exchange in FBG's eye, shared by Wilson. Without further ado, let's welcome the first guest speaker, Sandy.
Good afternoon. So I'm Sandy from BitCan, and very honored to be here to start the BitCan first Singapore meetup, and welcome you guys to become our first guest. Welcome. So today our topic will be redefining value. So before we redefine it, we need to know what is the value. So today I'm going to show you some data and our vision about key value for building a better crypto community. So before I start, let me do a short introduction about my company, BitCan. So BitCan is an all-in-one application, provides for professional candlestick chart, global industry news, multiple crypto wallet, mining monitoring, and our new function, content community named Kisa. And our founder team, Lian Liu and Yu Fang, they both came from one of the top list technology company in China, Huawei. So about BitCan's history, we established in 2012, which is very early in this industry, especially in China. So about BitCan's birth, there is a little story I want to share with you guys. Our founder, his name is Edward Liu. Now he's not in BitCan anymore, but now he is still very active in Bitcoin Cash community. So that's a long time ago, maybe before 2012. So let me do a little survey here. How many people know what is Bitcoin before 2012? Anybody? Oh, I saw too. So now you guys must be very rich. We're totally broke because now this bear market. So before 2012, our founder Edward Liu, in China, he is like a community leader in Chinese Bitcoiner. At that time, there is not much people know what is Bitcoin, but still they have a very small QQ group. So at that time, MT Gox is still the biggest Bitcoin exchange in the world. And in China, there is only one Bitcoin exchange named BTCC. It's very interesting that every time when mt Gox price fluctuates, the BTCC price will delay a few hours. So that's very important for these investors to know how is the price on mt Gox, even in midnight. So Edward wrote a small program to alert the price. When the price fluctuates, go high or go down, the program will play two different Chinese songs. 所以当价格升高的时候，那个时候就会放最炫民族风。当价格被砸到很低的时候，那个程序就会放等你等到我心痛。So at that time, this program is welcomed by Chinese Bitcoiner. It perfectly meets the community's demand. So that's why BitCan come out. So we just finished our Series B fund by Bitman and IDG Capital. So we can see BitCan is quite old in crypto community, but we start our business in market quotation and wallet. Actually, 4 years ago, our CEO, Yufang, she thought to build an online crypto community. But soon, she found that there is few users in this community, and the content had only one topic, that is Bitcoin. So it's not a good time to start a vertical online community. Until last year, the whole industry enjoyed a huge blooming. So we can see from this chart, last year, over 1,300 new cryptocurrency came out. So as well as the cryptocurrency investors, and the number is growing rapidly. So different users would have different demands for communicating. We can see from this chart, there is numbers of applications for meeting communities' demand. For example, traditional social media like IM or SNS. Some of this application, you just must use it every day. And other newly blockchain-based communities such as Daemon and other platforms, including our new function TZ. So we can see it's not hard to find a platform to build your community, but is that all for crypto community? What these crypto investors or users want to get from the community? I think it's information. So information is the goal. So what is the most popular content in crypto community? The BitCan made a survey in Chinese user group. Over 500 people took participate in this. So we can see from this two chart what kind of content and what kind of form they prefer. So let me explain in Chinese.
可以从这个表上看到，就是差不多有500个用户参加了我们的调查。目前看来，比较受大家欢迎的，其实还是集中于和投资相关的内容，比如说和技术相关的分享，项目相关的公告，以及项目信息和市场分析。然后从形式上来看，最受大家欢迎的其实还是类似于像短微博的moment。然后往下看才会是比较接受度比较高的图片以及视频。So in conclusion, crypto investors or users need efficient content to guide them with one's investment decision. So current issue of crypto community, for example, Telegram is the most popular IM tools in our industry. But once you join in a Telegram group, you will get lost in messages. Why? Because there are so many messages. And next time when you want to find out the lost message or you want to collect the high quality content, you will see that's very hard for you to do that. The second, the investors and users are divided into were isolated in by different points. In their small communities, they have their own way to communicate. For example, the Bitcoin community and Bitcoin Cash community and the Ethereum community, they seem totally different from each other. So the third, the radical insensitive by token. So we can see there are many newly blockchain-based
community platform, and they have their own token. The most common way for them to get new users is to airdrop their token. Also, the widely used way for them to attract high quality content is to reward the writer with their token. We think too many material insensitive is not good for the whole community. We think the value insensitive is much more better than that. So the key value for building a better community. There are three things we think is most important. So the first one is a culture of equality and freedom. The second is focus on the value insensitive, not material insensitive. The third one is to be a reflection of the offline ecosystem, just like how BitCan come to the industry. So let me give you guys a little introduction about KeySet, our new function. So now we have 5 major parts about this. So first one is rewarding on content. KeySet is a professional generated content instead of user-generated content. Encourage high-quality content. So the second one is a community sharing ecosystem. For some content community, they only allow their token to be the only ecosystem, economic ecosystem in their platform. But on BitCan, we accept Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and other tokens. Also, KeySet is decentralized, organized. We like the expert help us to find the most valuable content. So besides that, KeySet promotes small-scale groups. They can be project, self-media, co-workers, and events. If you have the demand, you can come to KeySet and build your own group. So the last one is customized web. So on KeySet, we provide different functions for users to meet their demand. So about KeySet product, I have 4 product script, but it's Chinese. On KeySet now, we have 4 major functions now. So first one is to find valuable content. The second one is to build your own community. Third one is to do the crypto tips. If you have some valuable thought and you write it, or you are just a reader, you can use the tips to reward your lovely writer. So the fourth one is crypto KOL. So how to encourage users to produce and reward valuable content? I think that is the most important question that all content community may face. But for BitCan, we choose a wise way to reward. So the first is tipped by users. So not every content can be rewarded. Only when the user think this content is good, they will do the tips. So the second one is reward and get profit. So the whole structure is like this. Every time when the writer writes the content, the first one to tip the writer. 95% of the tips will go to the writer side and 5% will go to KeySet, a main fund. So the second one to reward the writer. Then 95% of his tips will go writer and the first tipper. The 5% will go KeySet. So we can see from the screen, sometimes if you tips the writer very quickly, you might get tips more than you tip to the writer. So about CAN token, at the same time, BitCan KeySet also devised the CAN token. So it's a token of the platform, and there are four major application scenario for now, and we will have more scenario in the future. So now the CAN token it has been listed on 6 major exchange, including Huobi, OK, CoinES, ZB, KKES, and Fcoin. So about the current situation and advantage of KeySet, we have 4 major advantages. First, the KeySet community is based on BitCan's millions of active users, and now KeySet have partnership with over 100 medias globally, and being the industry leading brand for 5 years, and also we are holding the correct community culture and values construction. Besides that, on the right side, there are 10 major investors of the KeySet, and all of them are the leading capital in China and in other countries. So in the last, I want to say something not that practical but important, just like the Chinese Laozi idea. So the Chinese is 我无为而民自化，我好静而民自正。Translated into English, that is the action of inaction. So what is the action of inaction? It doesn't mean we doing nothing. It's about how to fully motivate the users to be creative, to realize their own values, and to achieve their own success. So that is BitCan, that is KeySet. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. If you want to, you can scan this QR code to download our app and try out the functions. Okay. Next, we will welcome Ethan, Marketing and Events Leader from Huobi Global, to talk about Huobi strategic program and globalization. Ethan, please.
Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Ethan. Thank you for coming out here today. So before I start, right, I just want to find out, the audience. How many of you here are from VC company? And how many from media? We got a few. Anybody from syndicate company? Any one of you are just traders? All right, so so you're from General Network,
I am, and proud to be part of Huobi, of course.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategic program and globalization. So I want to touch base a little bit about. Actually, I should just find out how many of you don't know who is Huobi. What is Huobi? Anybody? Okay, so everybody knows. So for Huobi, we are a 5-year-old company with millions of users in 220 countries. To date, we have 1 trillion of turnover trading volume. So in this 5 years, we have a very steep learning curve, which probably some of you are already going through. So we actually start to realize that we have media, we have VCs, we have traders, we have trading companies, API traders, and syndicates, and so on. And they're all individual. And also, just now, I think Sandy already touched base with a lot of the parts about this globalization. I'm going to add on a little bit more. Okay, so, first of all, I would probably just do an introduction video of Huobi Global and Elites. can see from the video, we actually have a lot of events and a lot of programs all around the world, from the United States all the way to Australia, Singapore, Korea, etc. And so, well, this is in pounds. And so, in this 5 years and in this one last year, we accumulated a lot of experience, and we actually decided to roll out this program called the Hobby Global Elites Program. So for every country, right, we're actually looking for strategic partners, be it media, be it miners, be it syndicates, be it VCs, be it traders. And through this Global Elites Program, what we actually do is you can actually share content with your users, your followers, etc. from the content that we provide to you directly, firsthand. And on top of that, when you actually refer to us users, you get 40% of their trading volume, the commission, in the next 6 months. So we have more than 30 global elites around the world already. Okay, so sorry about it. So I think just now there's a slide I want to touch on. So in January, right, we have about 300 employees in Huobi, and to date we have 1,300, because just now I mentioned to you we have offices all around the world. We have events all around the world, and we have moved beyond the exchange business already. We have Huobi Eco, which is also part of here. We have Huobi Capital, we have Huobi News, Huobi Research Labs, we have Huobi Mining Pool, and Huobi Global, and HEDX as well, which is changing. So what am I trying to say over here? So in January, when we had 300 colleagues, and now we have 1,300 colleagues, the scale is a little bit slow, we found out. And so we decided to create a really popular program called the Global Elites Program, because in each and every different country, there's different cultures, there's different regulation standards, there's different communities. And we realized that everybody from here I can see a lot of our folks are from different countries. You all know your standard communities and followers in each of this country. And so we realized that we need this Global Elite Program to scale further. Alright, so I want to talk a little bit about the Global Elites Program. First of all, we actually provide you first-hand information before the public about the market, about trends and insights from Huobi Labs. So when we actually provide you with content, you can actually come up with your own. That's my ex-boss. You can actually come up with your own content for your followers. And from there you can actually have revenue sharing model with us, and also you have OTC rights with us over the counter, and on top of that you actually split the Huobi token bonus with us as well at the end of this year. So besides the fact that you actually get rebates, right? Just now I mentioned 40%. We will also include you in a club, right? Where we will connect you with some of our partners to be aligned with your objectives in the next few months. Like today's, for example, Bikan is actually a very good friend of ours, and this is the synergy that we have. On top of that, just now I mentioned we have a lot of events all around the world. We will also give you priority, this invitation into these events free of charge. And we will get you involved in the community as well. I'm so sorry about it. So this picture, right, is actually a good display of 2 weeks ago. We actually had an event in Philippines. Our global elite requested Huobi's help to support them, their advertising network, and so they have been a good partner of ours, and we went there to support, to help them for their content, to deliver insights in the blockchain industry. So how do you join as a Huobi Global Elite? So if any one of you are interested you can actually come up to me. I'll give you a name card, and also we can add each other in WeChat. And I can also share with you about more incentives, about what is it in for Global Elite. And the next part, I think I touched base a little bit on it, which is a resource alliance. So when you join as a Global Elite, you'll be in this alliance where Hobby, you and a lot of our friends will share and synergize on our objectives together. And from there, you realize that your objectives and the things that you want to do is much easier because we help you connect. Like for example, a media company that is a Global Elite from Indonesia, for example, that requires help. And we have a couple of Global Elites that can actually work together. So instead of you one by one, approaching, we would actually help you out. So I think just now Sandy mentioned one of the problems we face today is everybody is individual. It's all separated. And because the blockchain industry is developing so fast, I think this problem is quite a big hurdle, and we are here to solve it for you. And in exchange, you will also get to earn quite good rebates. To date, these are the people in our alliance already. So we are looking to grow it 10 times more. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Jason from BTC.com. BTC.com is we are under Bitman. So today I'm going to talking about the products from BTC.com and what's our next step. So firstly, who is BTC.com? We are a group of people who are interested in Bitcoin early back in 2011. So we have 3 major products. So first is mining pool, and Bitcoin blockchain explorer, and the Bitcoin wallet. So we have a professional team, and we are also a globalized team. So we have office in Beijing, Singapore, and Amsterdam. So our mining pool is a very famous open source mining pool on GitHub. The top of the 5 Bitcoin mining pool are all using our backend, and we are also the first mining pool to introduce the FPPS mode. So which is FPPS? FPPS mode means we are also distributing the Bitcoin transaction fees to the miners, comparing with the traditional PPS mode, so which is trying to maximize the miners' profit. Also, we have a bunch of assistant tools for the miners. So for example, the smart agents. We have a local management tool. We have also have mobile apps. So we have a lot of little things to help miners to ease their life for mining. And our BTC.com wallet is, we already have 1 million wallets worldwide, and we have already 500 million values stored, transacted every month in our wallet. And the wallet also supports multi-platform, including your cell phone, PC. And the most important thing is the wallet is secure by design, which means our user always have the exclusive access to their funds. And finally, this is our BTC.com Explorer. So I think many people might have used blockchain Explorer for once at least, because if you're trying to deposit or withdraw from exchange, you will see a transaction ID. But how can you make sure the transaction actually sent to your wallet? So the blockchain Explorer is a good place you can search for transactions. And also, we provide you many inside data from Bitcoin blockchain. So we have currently we have the most fast and stable service for Bitcoin, and we provide API service for developers and partners. And I think by far we are the most we have the best performance on BTC Explorer market. So this is an overview of our BTC and Bitcoin Cash Explorer. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide the user a portal to access the data on blockchain. So we have for now we have a million monthly active users, 9 million pages viewed per month, and our API has API calls is 500 million per month. So we have supported a lot of developers. We also have some big partners, for example, Binance, BitPie. So it's typical exchanges and wallets. So using our API to develop their applications. And also, by far, for the Bitcoin blockchain, we had addressed around 400 million transactions, 300 million. The blockchain data has almost 200 gigabytes. And in our backend, the data size is already 1.2 terabytes. So from the data on blockchain, we can have many insightful charts. So for example, this is a chart on our website which shows monthly transactions on Bitcoin blockchain. So we can see a lot of interesting things because so for example, from 2013, we know it was the first time we have ASIC miners. So since then, we can see a steady increase of the transactions on chain. And to 2016, so here this time we started the Bitcoin community about the scaling issues because the median size of Bitcoin block is already near 1 megabyte. So since then, everyone knows last year the price goes up crazy, and on September last month, there's a lot of very serious regulation from Chinese government, and the on-chain transactions suddenly drops a lot. But quickly the price goes up and to all-time high. And finally on this year, everyone knows the price almost dropped to a third of the all-time high price. And we can see the on-chain transactions also drastically dropped. So this can be combined with other information from market price, so we can get many inside data from the blockchain. So this is another example which shows the mining pool distribution of Bitcoin. So we can see the ups and downs of the major Bitcoin mining pools, and we can see some new pools coming and old pools maybe exit their leading place. So this only shows the last year. So we can see there's actually a lot of major mining pools right now. Probably the 10, around 10 mining pools is a leading place of Bitcoin mining industry. So this is by far because we are BTC.com. So formally, our business is mostly focused with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So what is a typical user of our blockchain explorer? So this is some quick data from our for our users. So most users are around the age of 25 to 34, and almost 90% are male. And most of the users are coming from China, Russia, United States, and the user interests are mostly around this financial service. So this is a kind of you can get a typical image of the user who use our blockchain explorer. So since this year, we started to embracing the Ethereum. So first step, we have an Ethereum mining pool. For now, we have a 0% miner fee till October. And also we have a FUPS node and then we also pay miners Uncle rewards. And mining pool also provides easy switching, so you can switch your miners from Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And also we are alpha testing our Ethereum blockchain explorer. So this is an early preview of our Ethereum blockchain explorer. So we have a competitor which is EtherScan, so which is also a company in Singapore. And we're going to release it before November, so it's coming very soon. And also we're going to provide a Ethereum infrastructure for DApp developers. So this is a service like Infura.io. We're going to release it in 2008, so in this year. So this is our first step to enter the field of Ethereum. Actually, there's a lot of technical challenges when we are building the service for Ethereum. So first, actually, it's not quite easy to even maintain an Ethereum node. So we have a random crash from the Ethereum mining node, and sometimes RPC just doesn't respond. So for example, our mining pool, you always need to get the latest work from the Ethereum network, but sometimes the update just stuck and you never get the latest state. And also, even Parity and Gas, the two major Ethereum clients, they're not quite optimized for mining pools. For example, for Bitcoin, we usually have optimized. So if we have a new block, we first switch to mine empty blocks. Then after we validate the previous blocks, we start a new work. But in Ethereum, we don't have such mechanism. So I think each mining pool lost some hashing power to give the user their profit. So, and also a lot of mining pools suffers from the anchor block. So we have statistics that 20% of Ethereum blocks becomes anchor block. So the miners lost a lot of profit. And it needs very careful optimizations to maintain a node. So how we do it? First, we use both Gas and Parity, the two major clients, because we want to make sure that neither of them should want to go down at the same time. And also, we must use local SSD for all the nodes. We try to use HDD, but the node doesn't even manage to sync to the latest state. And we also fine-tuning the new node settings. We tried a lot, and now we have optimal settings for the nodes. And we also need to actively monitoring the node to check for its liveness. And for our mining pool, we also added some customized RPC. We already added to the pull request to the developers, and we wish them to add in the new release of Parity. And also, we have multiple instances around different regions. So this is trying to keep our mining nodes forecast transaction easy and get new blocks faster. And for the Ethereum Explorer, this is much more challenging than the mining pool, because I think Ethereum already has more data than Bitcoin. So by means of more data, first it's just on the numbers. We can see the address. Actually, they're quite. Ethereum has much less address comparing with Bitcoin, but the transactions are almost the same. And we know Ethereum we had something called which is called smart contracts. So in Ethereum transactions, we also have a concept which is called internal transactions, which means a smart contract calling another smart contract. So on Ethereum, we already have almost 800 million internal transactions. So adding up together, it's already 1 billion transactions on Ethereum network. And the full synchronized node of Ethereum is already above 1 terabyte. So by means of numbers, it's already much larger compared with Bitcoin. And Ethereum had a lot of smart contracts. Each smart contract have different usage. So for example, we are all familiar with ERC20 tokens. But for developers, if you're trying to develop a blockchain explorer, you need to understand all kinds of smart contracts on Ethereum. So even for ERC20 tokens, not all the tokens follow the standard, where we must manually process some very special tokens. And also there are some NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. So for example, the CryptoKitties, this is the first example of the non-fungible tokens. Actually, they're evolving very quickly. There's a lot of different new standards for NFTs. And there's a lot of different decentralized exchanges. And each of the exchanges are using somewhat different protocols. And we're trying to provide users data for all these decentralized exchanges. So this brings a lot of efforts to develop. And another thing is, we know for example, Flomo 3D, it comes out very quickly and becomes very popular. And so we need to catch up very fast to the new games or new apps on the Ethereum network. So this is quite challenging for us. So this is the roadmap for BTC.com. First, we're trying to support more coins on mining pool side. So this year, we already added Ethereum in Ethereum Classic. We're also going to add Decred, Dash, and Byton. So this is our roadmap this year. And for Ethereum, our goal is to provide a reliable and scalable service for Ethereum. So I think many Ethereum Explorer developers already suffer from the performance hit, because if Ethereum is getting more popular, we need to put more resource, and we need to optimize our backend to support the scaling issues. And also, as a developer for blockchain explorers, the most important thing is we're trying to do is to utilizing the big data, because we know there's a lot of potential in these big data. We want to bring the value from this data to our users. And the last thing is we want to help the DR developers. We want to bridge the gap between developers and make them easier to access blockchain. So this is our roadmap. Thank you.
Our next speaker is on the way. So we have a short panel here together with Alexandra and John Zhong from BTC.com and Sandy from BitCamp. Yes. Hold on for a while. Thank you.
We should get some chairs. Yeah.
Okay, so before the meetup, I think some of you guys have already saw a video. That is a Bitcoin documentary. So how many people saw it before? You? Okay, because you are interviewed by us. Yes. So so let me play a little trailer because this Bitcoin documentary is produced in last year. So let's see how many things happened in last year. So people always say in crypto community, in this industry, things happen so fast. So in Chinese, we always say 币圈一天，人间一年. Yes, how to say in English? Alejandro, you know that?
Things happen very fast.
Yeah, things happen very fast. In crypto community, there is only 1 day, but in normal world, it must be 1 year.
Yeah.
So 12 months ago, we made a Bitcoin documentary. At that time, people are talking about Bitcoin. At that time, even Bitcoin Cash didn't come out. So what people talk about is scaling Bitcoin, how to scale Bitcoin. Yeah, but this year, we see there are many changes happen in this community. So this hot topic in last year, it seems on that date in this year. So let's talk about what happened in last year and what will happen in next year.
About $960. Are you that much of a believer?
Bitcoin has the power to undermine everything they're doing to people around the world.
Yeah, it's a terrorist! Mario Draghi's a terrorist! The central bank of Japan is a terrorist!
我觉得比特币是比黄金还好。
Bitcoin now above $960. Are you that much of a believer?
Bitcoin has the power to undermine everything they're doing to people around the world.
Yeah, it's a terrorist! Mario Draghi's a terrorist! The central bank of Japan is a terrorist!
我觉得比特币是比黄金还好的一种投资品。世界上最危险的开源项目，它是蛮神奇的事情。It's faster and cheaper.
Nobody controls Bitcoin. There's nobody to sue.
But we use Bitcoin almost every day.
那个时候你就会觉得挣钱居然可以这么容易。 当时的1万个比特币可能现在已经值几千万了。
它基于的是密码学，当然密码学这样它基于的是数学。
这实践的技术太巧妙了。
一种被称为区块链的新技术正日益火爆全球。
为什么有这个概念啊？区块链是把比特币这样一个技术提炼的。
12月5号，央行总理部委发布了关于防范比特币风险的通知。
Mt. Gox unexpectedly shut down today.
有一个叫烤毛的人，他在命名出的时候失踪了，看这个不想。它可能会对整个世界的经济格局、金融格局带来比较大的影响。中本聪到底是谁？
参与比特币到底有挖矿
Why China is number one？
竞争我就弄死你之类的，这不会是吧？
比特币世界里面有一场争论正在逐渐趋于白热化。
就是破了，已经炒了4年了，
它未来有这种可能。
Okay, so let's back to present now. So I have actually 3 questions for your guys. So the first question is, what is the most important thing that you think happened in last year?
Yeah, I think every year in crypto currency area is very exciting because a lot of things changed. It's hard to choose, but because I want to choose between Bitcoin Cash and maybe the surge of Ethereum. I'm not sure which one is. Maybe I'll choose the surge of Ethereum.
I think the most important is Bitcoin Cash personally, because we had a lot of issues in late 2017 with scaling Bitcoin itself, and many people wanted to move scaling, which is fine in essence, to move to layer 2 systems, but we need scaling right now, and Bitcoin Cash provides that type of scaling with all the original features that was envisioned by Satoshi Nakamoto. And I think the price increase has also brought a lot of interest, but I think we need to continue building instead of just speculating.
Yes, back to the value, right?
Yeah.
So the second question is, so now the 2018, this year, have already passed half. So how do you think this year? How do you value this year? Is it a good year or is it a bad year? Yeah, how do you comment 2018?
Yeah, I think for investors, definitely a worst year ever. Because I think a lot of new investors came into this area last year, and maybe some new guys lost a lot in the investment. But for the developers, as a developer, I'm still very excited. There's a lot of new innovations, and we can see a lot of potentials from blockchain. And for example, for Bitcoin, the Lightning Network finally released their product, and there are some new real transactions right now, and you can see there's a clear path, but it's hard, but it's a path at least. For Bitcoin Cash, the community also grows a lot, because maybe from last year, maybe only a couple of developers for Bitcoin Cash, but right now there's a lot. And if you follow their development, you can see they're actually very active, and they discuss a lot about development. But yeah, there's another controversial. So yeah, I think for developers, you usually want to join the discussion and see which is the future for Bitcoin Cash. This is what I'm looking forward to this.
It seems like it's winter now. We are looking forward to the spring.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of investors get upset with the price, but you have, I mean, I always tell them, I always ask them the same thing. I always ask them, did you expect the price to continue to increase forever? I mean, there has to be some day that the price will normalize eventually. So this is just normal market trends. The price is sort of finding its real value. I think in terms of development, we've increased a lot. Lightning Network, as Jason said, has really seen a good push forward. We actually run a Lightning Network testnet in our office in Amsterdam, and we're always buying coffee from each other, although that's fun. But yeah, there's a lot of development work going on, and in the next year, what we need to continue focusing in on is getting more users to use cryptocurrency the way it's meant to be used as a currency. If we continue that, then we'll see sustained value in our market.
Okay, so the third question is quite hard, I think, because there are so many people care about the price. So how do you guys think about what will happen in next year? I think including price, or you can talk about other things, maybe technology, maybe the users, maybe the next step of what you will do in the next year.
Yes, I think in next year, a lot of traditional institutes will come trying to enter with cryptocurrencies. So, for example, the German US dollar, I think it's a good example because it's a new stable coin which is backed by government. Well, it's the local government, but at least it's a step forward. So maybe next year we can see a lot of competing stable coins. So which could change a lot of traditional things which we are used to. This could bring some change to the decentralized for cryptocurrency exchanges, or maybe there might be new ways, or maybe regulated ICOs. I think there's a lot of potential with these stable coins. This is what I'm thinking about next year.
Yes, there are many news that the emergence of the stable coins is that it represents the old money will come into crypto industry soon.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but at least there's a new way to allow people to access the cryptocurrencies, and also this means there could be a potential that they might be regulated under law, so there could be legal, maybe security tokens, or yeah, I think the security token is what I can guess for next year.
I do see regulation getting a little bit more mature. There are a lot of governments are beginning to see what it is, cryptocurrency. In the beginning, a couple of years ago, they thought it was just a joke, and then they thought, okay, maybe it's real, and now they're starting to create some regulation. Especially, we're always talking to the European Union in Europe and discussing all sorts of things all questions that they have. We always try to answer, try to be proactive in our reach there. Aside from regulation and some things of that nature, I think a lot of right now what's going on is that a lot of tokens that do have a future they're building their services and products. So maybe in a year from now, when we start seeing, or I'm not sure when the price will start increasing, and that's beside the point. But when we'll start seeing an uptick in the market, I think a lot of products and services will be ready, and then we'll start seeing some good projects actually living forward and doing what they should be doing.
Okay, that's good. So thank you. Thank you guys.
Okay, let's welcome our next guest speaker from FBG Capital, Wilson. He'll be sharing with us on the topic crypto exchange in FBG's eye.
Hey guys, sorry a bit late because it was in a different event. We was dealing with a couple of projects here, and we have. Let me just do some introductory about FBG, because now we actually start with secondary trading in China. The founder and the partner actually was trading the secondary market, and we are one of the largest traders in Huobi, OK, and Bitfinex, those markets. And then we progressively extend into the investment arm. So we have FBG Capital, then the secondary arm. So this year we just set up the new brand called FBG One, and recently we have another brand called FBGX, which is the which is research center incubator. So we also will host an event on Thursday. So these are the 3 brands that we have right now for FBG. So we actually participate a lot with the exchanges. Start with secondary market trading, and basically maybe I can share some info because on the trading side. On trading side, there are a couple of functions that we're providing. Firstly is a trading advisory, because we're dealing with a lot of projects and they have no idea how actually they can help the liquidity injection into the market, how actually to drive the market to be more active. And a lot of users thought that they just do the private sale, then once the listed exchange, then we start trading. Actually, it's pretty weak. When they don't do any public sales, there will be no user trading there. So they need some guidance there, and we use our infrastructure to help them to actually to build up their infrastructures and frameworks. So firstly, we do a lot of trading advisory and also the liquidity providing. So second part, we're dealing with exchanges mainly on the OTC aspects, and because we have a wide connection with the exchanges, and we connected over more than 40 exchanges in the market. So we do a lot of OTC from our own book, but then we need to hit through various exchanges. So we use a lot on the contract basis or cash basis. And the fourth part that we are dealing with the market is on the lending basis as well. So we help the projects, they can deposit token with us, we can provide the token with them, or like USDT or USD. So these are the markets that we're dealing with, deal with exchanges. So we had a large IT desk. We connected more than 40 exchanges. So it's actually, the experience we have is pretty tough, because when we're dealing with exchanges, the connectivity is always a problem, and sometimes exchanges will change their APIs without a notification. Then we got a problem there. So I think to maintain this kind of network is pretty hard. But I think most of the exchanges are moving to a more positive direction, and they keep on updating their APIs. So now I think we are on the right track, that things are getting more stable. So it's difficult on that aspects. We actually run a pretty large proprietary desk. We also have a fund called Volatility Fund. So with that, we have a couple $100 million injected into the market. So we do provide liquidity to many markets, like cash markets or contract markets. So we are pretty large traders on the major contract exchanges. So we have a pretty large liquidity provided into this exchange. But the problem we're also facing is that on those exchanges, we may find sometimes the liquidity a bit poor, because now every like company, they want to set up their own exchange. Then the problem with that is that liquidity is leaking to the various aspects, where a centralized exchange may gather the liquidity. So these are the problems that we're facing. And certain aspects where we're looking at, I think is very key, is security, because we're dealing with our own money and also clients' money. So security is a very important issue, and we always guide our project, make sure that they set up their two-step verification or disable their withdrawal functions, and make sure that we update their APIs, like private keys, like regularly, security keys regularly. Make sure that the connectivity is true, and make sure that security is there. So we were pretty careful with that. So we won't put too much money like online. So certain money will be kept in the cold wallet as well. And we have a lot of we met a lot of limitation with the exchanges. Say for example, we have to use our large IT team to maintain the network, and I used to host a trading team. So the problem we're also facing is that sometimes we use the API connection, and we use some managed trades. Like I just press 3 times, then the IP will be banned. So you can't do too much triggering like on the high frequency side. So I mean, even some guys want to do like high frequency trading in certain exchanges, then you may face a lot of those problems. So I think if the exchanges can help to improve that aspects, then maybe we'll attract more traditional guys into the market, because we really need to help those traditional guys use their old weapons and enter into new markets. into fiat crypto gateways. I think many of them actually applying different licenses. I was talking to a couple of guys in Asia, Europe, and US, and I see the needs for that. But the problem we also see is that, say for example, Japan and Korea, they do have gateways for fiat, but you have to be a local guys to do that, and they have like size limitations on that. So that restrict a lot on the dollar perspective and how actually you can inject the dollar into the market. So it's a pretty hard thing. They also see there are guys that in Europe they're trying to obtain some license, but then we face the limitation that if the money is in US, whether they will be able to pass the KYC. So that is pretty hard. So this actually result. We also run a pretty large OTC desk. So that result, a lot of guys willing to do OTC transaction with us. So because we have the banking facilities, as long as they pass the KYC and as long as we have the dollar, then we can do that. So we see that there are lots of transaction actually is done via OTC market rather than the online, the general exchange market. So that is the flow that we see. And the interesting part is that we do deal with like big exchanges like BitFenix or Krakens, and we also see those like gateways for the fiat. They set up European bank accounts. So if the guys that interested to open fiat account, maybe you can seek for some European helps. And those old money, they're also looking for good relationships. So even for BitFenix, I see they have bank account with some Spain banks or even German banks. So these are resources maybe they can seek for. And I think now, because for us, our experience is that we're servicing a lot of clients, so infrastructure is key. So I also see the market become more structured. So previously, a lot of guys are setting up accounts like individual account, but now we see a lot of exchanges that they are allowed to set up the more proper corporate account, and some of the exchanges they are providing rebates even to the traders, the top traders. So we see these are the incentives that they're giving to the market to help the traders to inject more liquidities. And also we're looking at, so we saw project there, they're pretty innovative. So they're like many exchanges in the market. They're very innovative. Say for example, they're doing trading and mining thing together. But the problem where we saw is that it need to be a balance of demand and supply. Because if the transaction you're providing for them is a cost, so the traders will be in the market. They were evaluating what is the cost, what is the cost, what is the demand and supply. So there are guys that are providing this kind of service into the market. Then they will calculate, okay, maybe the cost is too high, and where they do the money out, then they will constantly sell into the market. Maybe it's not worth to do this transaction. Then the demand side did not follow up. Then the market may crash on that. So we see there are cases that happen. So so innovation is hard to do, but we see these guys that keep on applying on the aspects. So we want to make sure that if their exchange want to do so, please look into the demand side, how actually to drive the real demand to trigger the users. And also, some of the guys knows that we actually, I was in Vietnam a couple of days ago. We saw the market there. It's still pretty active. Probably in Southeast Asia, those market the newcomers, they're entering the market. They're for the meetups, promotion, people are still pretty active. So if you're looking for new participants, probably can look into those second tier market that they enter later. So it become more active in that aspects. And the last point that we saw in the exchange aspects is the different token listing. So one thing is like utility, the other one is security. So these aspects, we see a great interest in the securities, and they want to attract all money. So what I look at in the market is that the utility side is pretty applicable for, say, for example, like gaming or gambling or retail-based kind of things that they are pretty easy to use with their use case and really use the utilities, really use the token for the utilities. But the rest of things that we see, the actual fundamental that their assets behind, their security behind, but it's really difficult for the old money to come into the market. So if their exchanges are able to provide the security listing, but we already see some of the guys are doing it right now, and the major exchange also looking to security tokens. So then I think we'll be able to help to attract a lot of old money to come into this. Basically, it's something like the ABS or MBS that we saw before. So the good thing is that we'll attract old money, but the worries we're looking is whether it will be same as 2007 to 2009, where the MBS will be trenching to like primary trench or equity trench, and will be multiplied the effect that creates more risk, more bubbles in the market. So this is something that may cause the problems, but we do see that's the good entry for the SEC to be able to manage it, and also will be helpful for the investors, for the old money, that to evaluate the asset, they really can measure what's the valuation. Then will be help them to enter into the market. So we see a mix. So we don't think that everything will be going to security. Potentially, there will be a chance that the market will be mixed. Certain things will remain utility, and some guys will give up and enter into securities. So these are the things that we're looking to. So basically, these are the points that we encounter. We think infrastructure is important, compliance is important, and applying licensing is important. So we work with big guys, and we help other participants. So that's why we create this separate market service into this crypto market. We also want to help exchanges to provide liquidity to them. So, but we also want to have some basic liquidity for the exchange. Otherwise, it's pretty risky. We can't really hedge. So we also see the market is too costly for hedging. That's why we also provide lending business to help them to reduce the cost. So there are many aspects we work on. So anything, any question, feel free to ask. Yeah. So that's about it from our side. Anything there?
Hello, one question. So what do you think about the potential market in Asia, and what are the characteristics for those countries that think they have potential in the blockchain space or cryptocurrency space?
So you mean general general perspective for the users or for the participants? I think Asia is still pretty active. So before I come here, I actually met up with a couple of European guys that it's more. I think the people are more focused on technology in Europe, maybe that aspects, but for Asia side, I think people more care about trading, or they more care about secondary market. They just like in I think in Korea or China, Vietnam, this area people are more aggressive. But whereas in Singapore, maybe Malaysia, they're more conservative. So we see different risk appetite. That's why a couple of days ago we were in Vietnam, and I was quite surprised. The hall is very full. It's like a lot of people came, and we have friends that they went to meet up. It's like they're really excited. I think it's a good chance. They were thinking, so finally we got a chance to enter at a low price again. So we got that kind of feeling from the participant in those areas. Yeah, but I think Singapore, Malaysia, generally people are more conservative. I think it's because the regional difference actually shows a lot. And we even knew some project that recently listed maybe in like Vietnam or Korean exchanges. They're actually up a lot. They can be up like 50 to 300%. So that indicates that the user there is still pretty active, and that's the number that we see.
Okay. Are there any questions from the crowd that you want to ask Wilson? Okay. One.
I want to ask you a question about the U.S. crypto exchange market. I mean, how fierce the competition is for the crypto exchange service providers to obtain the users, and how big the potential is for the U.S. Exchange market to grow, and how difficult it is to apply the license in the U.S.
Well, actually, how difficult, I'm not sure, but we see U.S. market is pretty interesting. So a lot of foundations they set up in Singapore. We saw Singapore is pretty open and relaxed, but they face a lot of problems to set up bank account. So banking facility is really a key. Where in U.S. and even for us, we have bank accounts in the U.S. market. That means they're difficult, but they're still open. even a couple of days ago, we know the custodian service will be improved in the States. So their compliance, they want to regulate this market, but they're not killing it. So I think in the States we still got good opportunity, but you have to give the market a bit of time. And I think in the States they're pretty open, but the exchanges they're going more on the regulatory perspective. So we see a lot of those big guys they're actually applying license. So even for us, we are also applying certain license that equip us with basically become a basic tool that you need to play in this playground. So I think licensing is important, but it really depends which role are you playing. Are you playing an exchange, or are you advisors, or are you just the general traders? So it really depends on role. So I think in the States actually they're more open in that aspect, but banking facility is important.
Any more questions for Wilson? Yes.
Hey Wilson. So you mentioned during your talk that a lot of companies now are doing private sales and then they go direct to exchanges. What's your sense of how many of those are there out there? Like what percent this year is doing that versus going down a kind of traditional ICO route? Do you think that's going to get bigger or smaller? Could you say a little bit more about that?
I think the basic trend it was, I think initially there are lots of projects actually based on public sales, because they raise funds like ICOs, they start raising from public. But then for a period of time I see their project raise funds like from more private investors because they're looking for strategic investors. But the thing is that the problem with this whole ICO thing is that they put the whole fundraising process even maybe before their product launching, or even before they have revenue. So the difficulty thing is that no one knows your company. So why we would be thinking a project with good public sales would be more successful in the secondary market is because we have to let the market know who you are. So where IPO project, they went through the market, they have marketing, they have products, some people use it, some people like it, so they have revenue. So you are attracting different kind of users into the market. There are users like your product, there are users like they're gamblers, there are users, they're traders, they're professional investors. So it's a mix of investor create market. So market is a place where the conflict comes from. Someone want to buy, someone want to sell, someone think short-term value, someone think long-term value. So it's a marketplace where different players need to be in, rather than just single players. But the ICO process put everyone in the front that, they probably don't know what you can do, or they totally don't know what really you can deliver, but they just believe that, okay, maybe in the future your token has utility value, or maybe has other values than utility. Then they're entering into marketplace. But if it's only private sales, only institutional guys, either they can't sell or they can't participate, or they sell, there's no bias. So it's hard for the secondary market, different users to participate in the market. So if there's no different kind of user at different time frame that they want to participate, then definitely will be facing too much risk to sell. But those projects actually at the initial stage they may not know. So they think that once they go to the exchange, that they will be user buying it. But just like marketing, if you don't do marketing, how would they know? No one knows. So that's caused to create difficulties for project only do the private sale, and they go to the exchange, then they face a sell-off. So I think important thing is that before the ICO, they need to do certain marketing, no matter the crypto marketing or traditional marketing. They do a lot more marketing that let people know. We knew a project. The fund actually go on the road to do the marketing for about 6 months, and of course the performance is not too bad. But firstly, they need to know. Secondly, they need to believe. Thirdly, you need to perform. Then it will have a chance to be there.
Could I ask one more quick question? So if, there's also another trend I'm hearing about, that many investors are actually going after equity now. They would rather have equity rather than tokens, or they would want both in some cases. So is this, do you see this as well? Is there a growing number of investors out there who want equity? And how does a project then reconcile that? How do they, have both equity and tokens, if that's
that was the question I mentioned just now. A lot of projects, they came, it's for the purpose of fundraising. So that's why I say in this market, they're probably going to be a mix of utility tokens and equity, security tokens, because some project that came in, they just want to raise money. So they use ICO as a tool for fundraising. That's why we see recent sell-off, a lot of sell-off actually came from the project side. Because the funds actually got excited because the Ether goes up to 1,400 and Bitcoin goes up to 20,000. Everyone got excited, so they raised money at that point. So it's a high point, and then they start investing. So where you see the market start selling off is at the time that the CME futures came out. So what we see is that the market, their guys are selling on the top, and there are guys that start investing. So there are a lot of projects later stage they're facing cash flow problems because they're selling at a really cheap price. But the purpose actually become different because they're trying to use that money for fundraising. They're trying to use that money. So it become a mixed sense that some people are purely utility, some people are security. So if they're on the fundraising side, as long as they can get money, they can use anything to get money. So then equity works. But equity, how do they value the equity? Then they start looking at revenue or users, that basis. So I think it's if this project they're looking for fundraising, no matter it's token based or equity based or security token based, the key purpose is the same. So once the key purpose is the same, then the key drive is the same. The key drive become the revenue and user. So as long as they can kill this side, they can use any tool to raise money. It's just like, is it easier way or is it more difficult way? Is it like better valuation or is it a cheaper valuation? So I think that is the key difference that we see in the market. Good. But actual utility-wise, I think a lot of those gaming companies or economic companies, they got a good potential because some people really want to use it. Yeah, they don't really care; they just want to participate. So for those like digital collectibles, some of those items they got a chance for the utility side. But the rest, for fundraising, then equity side or like security tokens, it all works best. But at the end, it's fundamental.
Yes, last question.
Hi, David from Talker. We're a regulated brokerage based in London, and we work with basically risk tokens and utility token issuances. Just wondering what your opinion is of the market here. Certainly, I think where we are, you were talking about old money earlier, and that money coming to the market. And I think that security tokens, whilst there are problems with them from a legal structuring perspective, tax, what the consequences of things might be for an asset manager's portfolio, it's clearer the security is an instrument, albeit settled in a different way, in a different infrastructure that's been around for a long time. They know how to value it. I think that's a driver really for the old money to come in. I'm interested to know what your perceptions are here. New market to us, sort of the Far East, what your thoughts are about that.
Just now I mentioned a bit on the utility and security tokens, but what we see, the security tokens that they face regulation and also the exchange will face the same problem. Say for example, most of people maybe in the States, they know interactive brokers. They do a lot on the licensing. So they have license to access to the market in multiple countries. Even if you apply a account, you're gonna do like a lot of KYC to apply. So you gotta agree here and there. So you need to agree all the terms in different countries. You want to trade across those countries. I think utility token exchange is gonna be probably facing the same problem. You see a lot of like even for BOK Binance, they are applying license everywhere. Because you are facing the legislation restrictions, so even some of those legislation they may conflict with each other. So that's the reason they may have different entity around to enter different market. So I think it's gonna be the same. Relaxed regulation may attract a lot of users, but the key money, you see why people are so looking at SEC is because a lot of old money are still in the States in the street. So they're looking at how actually can attract those money. Then even for the regulators, like I think it's important. Even you're in Europe, the SEC can say like you're restricted. You're not allowed for the US guys to trade on this. So no matter how relaxed your regulation is, they're still unable to access. So I think the point here is that the different market may come out with different kind of regulations. So for utility or security trading on that. you may face a lot of different kind of regulation you want to access with that, uni license. I already know guys in the market, they've got multiple licenses, and they're actually helping various exchange for that security entry. So compliance is important. Then the second thing is that actually you do have to look at, if you owe money, you do have to look at how actually SEC behave or US market behave. If you can compliance on that aspects, then basically you already can attract a lot of money into this market.
Thank you, Wilson. Thank you. So, thank you everyone for this event. We have prepared for some refreshment at the back. So this is the networking section. So please enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Hi. How are you guys? I heard you speaking Chinese earlier. Are you from China? Which stage?